Hello ladies, gentlemen and gender whisperers, and welcome to The Struggle, a news talk show powered by millennials whose parents have yet to say that they're proud of them. I'm Matilda, standing in for Amber, who left us all with abandonment issues. Welcome, and tonight we'll be discussing what's the go with au pairs, aggressively expensive rail loops, and Big Boy Abbott desperately grasping for relevance. Avocados will soon be living longer than us, thanks to what we here at The Struggle are calling a true scientific breakthrough: zapping fruits with cold lightning to make them last longer. Murdoch University in Western Australia have found a way to stop mould from cultivating on fruits and vegetables, extending their shelf life by weeks. Like all good things, this technology comes from Thailand, first created during the researchers' exchange trip in 2015. Clearly a very different experience to the one that I had at the full moon party. Scott Morrison is apparently against the news, stating he believes that avocados should be retired at the ripe age of 67 days.
And the retirement age will remain at 67. It's all about recognising the effort
avocados
put in and the choices that they want to make, because that's the sort of Australia that I want to lead.
I disagree, and believe avocados should keep working to support the Australian public. For a more in-depth look, we go to our housing crisis correspondent for more.
We here at The Struggle commend Murdoch University's efforts. There is nothing more important to us than Avo. However, and we don't want to get greedy, but we have some ideas for how this technology could be used to further benefit Australia. First off, surely if science is going to preserve anything, it should be our bloody prime ministers, because those mofos need to last longer. Just imagine, zap. And if we venture outside of Australia, zap. And well, while we're on it, let's zap the fuck out of all those uni assignments and assessment deadlines. Zap. Look, I know that I won't finish that assignment until the night before it's due anyway, but now it won't be a problem for 2 more weeks. But seriously, holy guacamole, this technology could be a game changer. Back to you, Matilda.
Thanks for that. Now, moving on to an idea more innovative than a mid-semester break in week 8, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has announced plans to build an underground rail loop through Melbourne's suburbs. The proposed 90-kilometre track would connect us to Melbourne airports and finally give the universities a fucking station. All this and more for the affordable one-time fee of $50 billion. While this is being dubbed the biggest transport project in Australian history by someone who has clearly watched too many Marvel movie trailers,
the biggest transport project in Australian history. The project a modern, growing Victoria needs.
that's not exactly something to be proud of given the current state of our public transport system. Ugh, at least we've moved on from spending billions of dollars to not build the East-West link. But just like trying to get home in peak hour traffic, completing these new tracks will take a fuckload of time, with construction not even set to start until 2022. That's at least enough time for like 3 other prime ministers, maybe 6 if a female accidentally gets thrown in the mix. But Victoria Transport Minister Jacinta Allen was much more optimistic when discussing expected completion dates with Neil Mitchell.
Will it be finished by 2050?
That is the plan, that it would be finished in that period of time, and that's a key.
Around halfway through the century, 2050.
Well, that's not that far off, Neil.
Well,
if you
at least
look
for me,
at...
I won't be there.
Well, when you put it like that, Jacinta, 2050 is really not that far off. Up until 5 seconds ago, I hadn't even considered that 2050 is a real year that exists. Like, we're getting self-driving cars in tops 3 years. Do you think everyone will even know what a train is in 30? We're closer in time to when 1 and 2 cent coins were still around than to when this multi-billion-dollar rail work will be completed. To put this further in perspective, we cross live to our miscellaneous correspondent, who, unlike me, has actually been planning for the year 2050.
Thanks, Matilda. By the time this train line is in operation, millennials will be ruling the world. Just let that sink in. Yup, selfie queens are going to have to ditch their social media accounts and actually face climate change, nuclear weapon, and freshest snowflake-infested world. Now, seeing that we're apparently really close to the year 2050, I have decided to help a few of our favorite Aussies with the planning of later stages in their career. First up, Tony Abbott.
Very good.
I don't think anyone would be surprised if he was found lurking around Parliament with a special leadership position or influencing a leadership spill. But if he was to leave Canberra, I'm sure we'll find him making onions at a Bunnings barbecue. Next, after Prime Minister Bill Shorten has been made Prime Minister, got knifed by his party, made Prime Minister again, and we finally get that Queen Penny Wong moment, he has a rapping future awaiting him.
Listen to you fellas whinge and whine. I'd rather go to question time with Christopher Pine. Our economy's in debt, but Malcolm's just chilling. Hey Malcolm, can you lend us a couple million?
Same can't be said for Malcolm Turnbull though.
Waleed, you're the man. You're the Tigers fan.
Keep him as far away from the mic as possible. But enough about politicians. Delta Goodrem may be known for her acting, singing and fragrances, but fame doesn't last forever.
I had Delta Goodrem in here the other day. Do you know who she is?
Ah, really? Yes. You look just like her.
I do? Oh,
yes,
thank you so much.
Wow, with Abbott running the Barbies and Delta at the checkout counter, forget about red carpets at movie premieres. Hardware stores are going to be celebrity heartland in 2050. How about Aussie cricket legend Shane Warne? Now we know the King of Spin's days, playing days are over, but if he wanted to continue working outdoors, he could always work with animals. You know, like spiders.
Mate, you can do it.
10 seconds.
Everything's beautiful.
10 seconds.
Everything's great.
10 seconds, brother.
Come on, brother.
10 seconds,
Come on.
brother. That's 20 seconds nearly.
You're gonna break a
Think about-
lifetime fear
think
here,
about
mate. You're gonna get
Jackson
through it.
and Summer and Brooke. They'll be wrapped.
Once a champion,
That'll be
always a
wrapped.
champion.
I know he probably wouldn't make a great zookeeper, but money from hair plug ads won't last forever. Now let's take a look at our national treasure, Nicole Kidman. If she ever decides to take a step down from Hollywood, she'll be perfect as a Uber driver. And now the one we've all been waiting for, the intern. In the year 2050, with exciting new job opportunities, millions of them, the intern will remain loyal to the struggle. He'll be working, cleaning the empty studio, reaching into his empty pockets, all the while thinking about his empty life being wasted away, clinging on to the faint hope that the show will one day be revived. But that's of course just a guess. Back to you, Matilda.
We better hope no one tells them about Centrelink. Okay guys, that's it for now. We'll return after a short break. Welcome back. We now move on to yet another study aggressively generalising women's dating preferences. A study from the University of Western Australia has found that women are put off by intelligence. The study's lead author, Giles Ganack, dumb name, concluded that straight women, contrary to popular belief, are actually put off by overly intelligent men. And what's even more shocking is that men are supposedly totally cool with dating smart women. And if that's true, it really begs the question, why won't anyone go out with me? I'm a genius, guys. Okay, the study found that you can have too much of a good thing, outlining that women are turned off by a man who is overly anything, like handsome or smart or like poor, which I guess explains why The Bachelor this year is such a 7. Now, personally, I think this study is totally untrue. I'm secure enough in my intelligence that I'd be happy to date a smart guy, just not a guy that's smarter than me. For more on the story, we're going to cross to our dating correspondent for a fresh take.
Thanks, Tilds. Now, contrary to what our host thinks, this University of WA study is totally legit, and I'm here to tell you why. All smart guys are ugly. You know, guys, I would never ever generalize. That's one thing that I would totally hate to do. But have you ever actually met a smart guy that was also hot?
So this study actually reminds me of one of my own scholarly works in which I established that guys who only focus on being smart never have time to focus on anything else, like going to the gym or getting on The Bachelor.
Now, fellas, I've taken the liberty of putting together a list of all the things you need to keep in mind so you don't scare a woman away with your intelligence. First of all, put down the books. Just get rid of them entirely. They're entirely overrated. I mean, really, what's the point of an education if it isn't going to get you laid? And we all know that's the most important thing in life. Now, I know that education is important, and I know that getting a university degree could possibly help you get a job. But at the end of the day, that's 4 years that you could spend going to the gym every day, getting rockin' hard abs. I know which one I prefer. So, fellas, choice is easy. Oh, right. So secondly, as Dr. Gignat points out, it's really unattractive for men to be up to date on current affairs. So I'd recommend just skipping the news entirely. I think maybe just try and find any little bit of information you have on a random topic and explain it to a woman in the most patronising tone possible. This works particularly well if she's a trained professional in the field or has done many years of research on the topic. Like, you know, TV, Today Show, A Current Affair, 60 Minutes, all you need. If you must read, the only thing I'd recommend doing is BuzzFeed quizzes. Oh, which Friends character are you? Well, we all know I'm a Rachel, so you sure as fuck better be a Ross. Thanks, Tildes. Back to you.
Okay, Courtney might have gone slightly off topic towards the end there, but actually, quick side note, I'd clearly be a Rachel Chandler hybrid, and Amber would be like a less funny, less lovable version of Phoebe. Now, it wouldn't be the struggle without some politics, and this August has taught us a very important lesson. If you want a special leadership position without actually doing anything to deserve it, you just need to be named Tony Abbott. Abbott has been appointed Special Indigenous Envoy by ScoMo. It's the Partition Award of politics. While Morrison already has an Indigenous Advisory Council, Indigenous Affairs Minister Nigel Scullion, and one whole Indigenous individual, Ken Wyatt, in his cabinet, Abbott too, for all the great work he has done, has been thrown into the mix.
I know how passionate Tony Abbott is about changing generationally the life circumstances for Indigenous Australians.
While he holds the position of Special Envoy for the community, Abbott has said his priorities will be to raise school attendance and performance.
I've been to lots of remote schools over the years. We need to get attendance up, we need to get standards up, and I think that would be a wonderful thing for me to focus on.
I mean, we all get that you're trying to stop him from sniping from the backbench, but what about a position where he has some more expertise? Like Yacht Club Envoy? The Labor government had this to say.
This is a very strange decision by the government.
Here to tell us what she thinks about Abbott's love of Indigenous people is our far-right correspondent, Pauline Hansung. Take it away.
Hi there, Matilda. Thanks for having me on the show again. Anyways, I have to get back to writing my blog post about the dangers of Sunnis gangs, so we're going to have to keep this short and sweet, okay? Who am I kidding? I am so up for this discussion, although I am very fearful of Sunnis gangs, and you should be too. In fact, did you know that Sunnis gangs... Now, Tony Abbott might have not been renowned for his pro-Indigenous agenda, but I still think he's the perfect person for the job. I mean, Tony's new gig is really similar when he appointed himself as the Minister of Women's Affairs back in 2013, despite the fact that he was not qualified, but he did an excellent job. I mean, he introduced ideas like when he said women won't ever dominate or even approach equal representation in a large number of areas compared to men, due to physiological reasons. And that's the kind of attitude we need more in the Parliament. Help stop these lefty snowflakes from taking over. However, he may actually be more qualified for Indigenous Affairs Minister than many would think. Remember, he did bravely cut $500 million out of the Indigenous Affairs budget in 2014, clearly indicating that he isn't going to spend any taxpayer money to fix their problems.
She doesn't speak for the show.
Or what about when he plans on closing more than 100 remote communities and moving more than 1,000 people out of their homes so the government would stop subsidising their lifestyle choices and the Indigenous people could learn to stand on their own feet? It clearly indicates that he has plans for the Indigenous community.
She doesn't speak for the show.
Well, you can't tell me that his comment about there being nothing but bush in 1788 was offensive as well. He was obviously talking about the development.
She doesn't speak for the show.
I don't get it, Matilda. Can you hear what I'm saying? Abbott clearly only wants this role to satisfy his own agenda. Isn't that great? Isn't that capitalism at its finest? Oh, and before I forget it, in other important news, did you hear that Scott Morrison actually handed the Australian lapel badges to all of his ministers, hoping to remind them whose side they're really on? It really turns out he's taking a page out of a great country's book. God bless America, land of the free, home of the brave. Well, ScoMo told them that the badges' job was to promote stability and unity, because why do that yourself when the badges can do it for you, am I right?
Our job now is to provide stability, to provide a unity and a unity of purpose for the task that we have ahead of us.
Maybe one day we can have lapel badges run the entire country. Unless we decide to give Abbott a second chance, that is. Phoebes, can you put more vodka inside this cup for me, please? I swear, for the love of God, I'm not paying you just to stand there and look pretty, okay? At least do something. Anyway, that's all from me, Matilda. And you know what? Tell Amber that I miss her and that she is still better than you. Can someone get this camera out of my face? I don't want to do this anymore. No.
She doesn't speak for the show. It looks to me like Abbott is about as qualified for this job as I'm qualified to be a talk show host. Anyway, Hansung, that's break time, guys. We'll see you on the other side. We are back. Now, speaking of prominent Aussie politicians, Dutton fucked up again. Apparently our favourite Home Affairs Minister, Peter Stop the Boat Dutton, also known as Baby Judas, has once again been a naughty boy. Leaked emails revealed Dutton intervened to save a French au pair from deportation back in 2015 after the AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan lobbied for the young woman's case. What happened to tighter immigration, Peter? Oh, right, it's different if you're white. The au pair, a French woman named Alexandra Duell, previously worked for McLachlan's second cousin, an Adelaide-based pastoralist, Callum McLachlan. Gillon McLachlan made a case then to Peter Dutton's chief of staff, Craig McLachlan. There's a lot of McLachlans. Have they managed to build some kind of empire that appear to have Aussie politicians in their pockets? In this document dated November 1st, 2015, Dutton wrote that granting the woman a 3-month tourist visa would be in the public interest. Come on, Peter, what about this French au pair could possibly be in the public interest? Is she like the love child of some National Party leader? Is she actually the next Prime Minister? Does she have a sex tape? No? Oh, well then it would appear that nobody gives a shit. Dutton has been a vocal proponent of tougher immigration laws, yet in this case he thought it would be a bit rough to deport someone who hadn't committed a crime. Could it be that Australian politician is flip-flopping on his agenda for personal gain? Well, that would simply be unheard of. Thank God this guy is as bad at executing a successful coup as he is at politics. But look, we here at The Struggle are blessed with a public platform. Sure, it may not be as big as the AFL, but we want to do our bit. So when Path, an international student whose visa is living on borrowed time, asked us to come on the show to appeal to big boy P-dubs himself, we simply couldn't refuse.
Dear Dutton, I write to you today with a heavy heart and a heavier mind. It was my dream to come to your great land of Australia and study at a cost that people could only describe as totally reasonable and not at all propping up the entire system for everyone else. But unfortunately, despite spending 5 years studying a highly skilled and sought after trade, my position in this country is in jeopardy. So instead, I would like to formally alert you that I am changing professions to one which I have been informed will give me immunity from all immigration laws and make me almost impossible to deport, no matter how many peak government bodies suggest that I should be. Of course, I'm referring to the higher position of the au pair. I still don't quite get what the job is, but I've been told it's pretty much just being a nanny for fun-year adventures and not a lifetime of low-pay, high-stress work. It's kind of like being a migrant worker, but for beautiful white girls who live in rich people's houses and do tops 3 hours of babysitting per day. I want to say on behalf of 19-year-old girls across Europe with connections to important public figures, we are most definitely the most deserving people of visa exemptions. We need your sympathy much more than, let's say, that girl in Nauru who was raped while having an epileptic fit, and then when she desperately needed an abortion, the government said that they didn't owe her a duty of care and sent her to another country where abortion is punishable with 7 years in prison. And yeah, maybe you required a fucking high court ruling to knock some fucking sense back into you and let her access the medical care she so desperately needed. But that's what's so great about being an au pair. All you need is to be a friend of a politician and you're fucking set. We need to save these sweet young European girls from being forced to live a life in France. So Dutton, please, help me help you prove them wrong. Let the brown kids stay.
Thanks, Path. We're all rooting for you. If you thought Footscray looked a little hazier over the past 2 weeks, it wasn't just your hangover. The Thursday before last, firefighters were called to a factory in Footscray, which the MFB acting chief officer called one of the biggest fires in Melbourne's history. In millennial terms, it was lit. Gallon drums reportedly exploded and flew through the air, prompting Michael Bay to plug his next movie. The building contained acetone, a flammable chemical found in nail polish remover, making Footscray smell like a dingy shopping centre. Many locals welcomed the improvement. And as if that wasn't enough, the building's roof and walls contained asbestos, making it the kind of chemical cocktail that someone might want to try and sell you in a club bathroom stall. The chemical fire burned throughout the week, releasing toxic smoke into the air. Industrial chemicals then leaked into Stony Creek, causing dozens of dead fish and eels to float to the surface. Experts say in the coming months we can expect a Simpsons-esque scenario.
All right, we eat tonight.
Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3.
This wasn't the only fire in the news of late. After a 4-year-old in Epping set his family home alight, the child lit a piece of paper on the stove and took it into his bedroom while his parents were smoking a cigarette. We've received a hot tip that the federal government is set to blame African gangs for the recent spike in arson. The public is encouraged to avoid lighting matches indefinitely as we await for it to be deemed safe by our heroes in Parliament. Okay guys, that's it for our show. As always, thank you for watching, and you can sign the petition to have Pauline Hansong axed from the show in the comments below. We're going on a mid-season break because, let's face it, everyone working on the show is just like a hair's breadth away from failing out of uni. Except for me. Potential employers, I want you to know that I'm doing fine. Goodbye from everyone here at The Struggle. It's real.